You are listening to the Savage Podcast. Visit www.thesavagepodcast.net.
Hey, Jay.
Hey, Joe.
Listen, while we were sleeping together last night in the bunk beds, you kept whispering something in your sleep. Something kilometers, meters. I don't know if I know the miles?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what do you remember any of this?
I don't remember any of it.
You just kept saying miles. I don't know if you were running or if in your dream you were running. I know you don't love running. Or if someone you know named Miles. Can you elaborate a little bit? You've got to remember the dream a little.
I do.
You also threw a kick at the bottom of the bunk while I was sleeping.
Is that why when I
Fucked me
woke
up.
up, the whole fucking bunk bed was shifted and we were on the ground?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I was having a dream, and I'm so glad it wasn't just a dream. Sav J had a dream.
Tell me.
It was of Miles Fury Jury.
Now it makes sense.
Yes, Miles Fury Jury. He is UFC fighter coming to Buffalo, New York, and he's going to be throwing a seminar. And it's going to be coming up, when is it? Saturday, February 4th?
Wait, is this still part of the dream or is this actually happening?
This was the dream. I woke up and realized that it wasn't just a dream, baby.
Wow.
It was reality.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so it came to me that
What?
these sick, nasty punches and this kick that went through our bedpost.
Yeah.
Our bedpost
Mm-hmm.
went through the wall.
Yep.
Where did it come from? Let me tell you.
Tell me about it.
Let me tell you about it. Miles Fury Jury, founder and creator of the Jury Jiu-Jitsu system.
I've heard of it.
Heard of that?
A little bit.
He's going to be throwing, I keep saying throwing like it's a party or a punch.
It's kind of a party. It's
Everything
kind of a
that
punch party if you think about it.
Everything that is great is being thrown.
Yeah.
He's going to be having a session from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. is going to be striking for MMA, and from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. is going to be jiu-jitsu and wrestling skills.
You know I love my grappling.
Yeah.
Where the hell is this going to? Can I just go anywhere? Is he everywhere?
No.
I bet he's everywhere.
No.
Okay.
He is in two places. First and foremost, your heart.
Yeah.
The second place you can find Miles Fury Jury of the UFC is at Pride Martial Arts. Pride Martial Arts.
That's in Clarence, right?
Yes, it's in Clarence, New York. It's 9135 Sheridan Drive, Clarence, New York, 14031. If you want, this is open to the general public, and this isn't...
That's unfortunate.
It's unfortunate, and it's good for them.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be able to come down, and for $50, $50.
Well, okay, back it up. You
Backing
can't do
up.
anything that cool for $50.
You can't even go to the fucking movie anymore without dropping.
No, there's hidden fees. I know it.
Here's the thing about the hidden fees.
Okay, go.
Those two were thrown out.
Yeah. By us.
By us.
Yeah.
So for the low cost and the value of your dollar, Jesus, it's people. Not only are you going to be able to come and learn
In that order.
about professional, top-notch MMA, jiu-jitsu as well, and wrestling, your stand-up game, everything you need to know to be a proficient MMA fighter, you're going to want to attend this seminar.
Why, Jay?
Miles Fury Jury, not only him,
Yeah.
but you're going to be able...
Get to the meat.
Here comes the meat. You're also going to be able to grapple, if you're lucky.
Probably
There's
not.
probably going to be a line.
Yep.
But you're going to be able to meet yours truly, Sav Joe and Sav J, at the Dojang.
On the mat.
On the fucking mat. If you're lucky.
If you're lucky.
You may be able to take a picture with us.
No, our fee is $150. That's
Yeah.
$150
Yeah.
per half hour.
Right. So
Still a deal.
it's yeah for them.
The $50 registration is ridiculous. That's sweet because that's my lowest bill in my wallet.
Yeah.
Is a 50.
Mm-hmm.
I've only got one.
Yeah. So people can sign up. People can sign up at actually they can call. They
Call
can
Nancy.
Call Nancy.
Call Nancy.
At Pride Martial Arts at 716-565-0202, 565-0202, and that's in the Buffalo area, Clarence, New York. If you want to come and perfect thing and learn from the best, you have to train by the best and be the best yourself.
So that means after training with us, then maybe Miles.
That's exactly what that means.
That's the order of, yeah, so there it is.
Now, funny enough,
Yeah.
Aside from all of the jiu-jitsu and MMA training that we do, and we're able to train with Miles Fury Jury.
Yeah.
I was at the yoga studio.
Ooh.
2 nights ago.
Yeah.
And I'm terrible at it. That's a side note. However, one thing, I was doing this one pose and I looked over and there was like this group of girls and they're all like, meh, 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 meh.
Oh, God.
Chatty fucking cats.
It never ends.
Yeah, you think, oh yeah, yoga, super hot chicks, which,
Yeah. Okay.
Here's the thing. They were all fucking talking about something, and I stopped yoga. I just stopped, and I was like, excuse me, women, can you just cut the shit? I'm trying to focus.
Put the dishes down and tell me what's going on.
Right. Are you done making dinner? Because my laundry, never mind.
Keep going.
They were talking about, I was like, all right, well, if you're not going to shut the fuck up, what are you talking about? Right? Let me get in so I can deactivate the situation and you can kindly leave so I can finish my flow.
Yeah.
Right? And the one was like, blah, 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 blah. Something about a clothing line that they're fucking craving now.
Oh, my God. I know what you're talking about.
And they all had these really, really nice, I believe they're called leggings.
Yeah.
It's those really form-fitted, comfortable-looking pants that, yoga practitioners wear.
Shows all your divine assets.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you should see me in a pair of these things.
I have
the most divine asset.
It's called Thursday Night. You've seen it plenty of times.
And they were talking about this new clothing line, which is fucking blowing up. And I guess everyone that is into yoga is wearing these clothes because they're not only functional and seasonably functional.
They're just
They're
stylish.
super stylish and comfortable.
Very comfortable.
The brand name was LuLaRoe.
I can tell you all about it if you want.
I would love that.
I happen to know quite a bit about it.
Okay.
LuLaRoe is a clothing company, okay? They make these articles of clothing,
Mm-hmm.
okay? They all have names,
Yeah.
okay? And the article itself stays the same,
Mm-hmm.
but the patterns change.
Oh.
You ever find a shirt that you love,
Yeah.
okay? It's got a sick pattern on it. You're
Mhm.
like, this shirt, and it fits well.
Yeah.
And then you go and you see another shirt that you like, and it's got a sick design on it, and you put it on. But that T-shirt, maybe it's too tight in the arms. I know you've had that problem before.
All the time.
Yeah. And it just doesn't fit right, but you just love the pattern.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to do that anymore.
I hate that. Hold on.
Yeah.
I
Go,
fucking hate that.
Yeah,
Let
me
me
too.
I got to tear this apart.
go ahead.
It's once in a blue moon where I find a shirt that fits normally and fits nice where it's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And then I go and buy the same brand and it's a sick design. I'm like, fuck yeah, it's going to fit the same. It doesn't fit the fucking same.
Nope, doesn't fit the same.
I hate that.
Yep.
I
Mhm.
throw it out. I wipe my ass. Okay. So back to what you were saying.
Yeah, LuLaRoe.
Yeah.
Women have a place where they can find shirts that are all the same, and the patterns change constantly. They're never the same.
So if let me get this straight. If you get an article of okay, so a girl finds a shirt,
Mm-hmm.
right? And she finds a perfect one with that perfect fit to her body and the way it contours.
Yeah.
She can get that same result, but just change the color pattern, the scheme, the
Yep.
art on it.
Yep.
That doesn't even make sense. Okay, people.
Yeah.
Finally someone got it together.
There, there it is. They carry a wide variety of articles of clothing. They all have a different name, so you can recognize the things that you like. Another great thing is they do these pop-ups, right? All right, and you can get in on these pop-ups.
Mhm.
All right, a pop-up is like a party. Okay, it's a party full of women.
Yeah.
Okay,
I had a pop up at the yoga studio.
I had a pop-up in my pants.
Right.
Okay, it's a party. Okay, you host it,
Mm-hmm.
and if they sell 10 articles of clothing at that party, you get a free item.
What?
If they sell 20, you get 2.
What?
If they sell 30, guess how many you get?
2
Yeah,
plus 1.
plus 1. That's 3. There is a couple of girls here in Buffalo
Okay.
that are rocking this LuLaRoe stuff.
What?
Okay. That's Rachel and Lindsay, and you can hit them up. Okay. LuLaRoe, Lindsay, and Rachel at gmail.com. That's
Okay.
Lindsay with an A.
Yeah. LINDSAY.
Yes. Very good.
Thank
Excellent. Absolutely
you. I've
correct.
been reading.
You can check them out at Facebook, LuLaRoe, Lindsay, and Rachel, and LuLaRoe, Lindsay, and Rachel on Instagram. They're all over.
Oh, nice.
Okay. You can get them. You can call them, have them host a pop-up at your place, their place. You can even do it online.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did you see Lee the other day when she came?
I did, and you know what?
You asked her
Funny-
about what she was. Yeah.
Yeah, I asked her what she was wearing because she just had this smile on, and I was like, "What the fuck are you smiling?" That's how I talk.
Yeah.
What the fuck are you smiling at? And she was like, "Oh, I got this new thing," and she explained it. I forgot what she called it. I believe she called it an Irma,
That's correct.
and it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was like a flowy, like a summer dress,
Yeah.
except it was more of a shirt. So it looked really comfortable. If she wasn't wearing it, I would have been wearing it.
One of the things that Lee and my mother
Mhm.
constantly talk about is how comfortable and fashionable this stuff is.
Right.
You can wear it anywhere. Are you going to wear it to the black and blue? No. Are you going to wear it to jiu-jitsu? No. But can you just show up and look sexy and hot in this stuff?
And comfortable at the same time.
And comfortable at the same time.
What?
They have a scheme for the leggings.
Okay.
OS, which is one size fits all.
Okay.
Whether you're a size 0 or a size 10, they fit you
Mm-hmm.
and they hug you.
Okay.
Okay?
Wow.
They hug you.
I like that.
Hug. Then they have the TC. Do you know what that stands for?
Hug.
Tall and curvy.
Oh.
Tall and curvy.
Wow.
I like to say thick and curvy,
Mm-hmm.
but tall and curvy. You know, I like tall and curvy.
yeah, TC.
Yeah, we say that all the time.
All the time.
I'm like, yo, what's up, TC, right over here.
Yeah.
Check it
holler.
out.
Mm-hmm.
TC, no big deal. So they're here right in Buffalo. Actually, they're in Cheektowaga. They've got a huge fundraiser going on March 11th. Okay, they're doing a donation.
Yeah, that's huge. You
They're-
know how we love donations.
Can I tell you a little bit about it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it's kind of a big deal.
What that donation you made
Yeah, that donation that I
to
made.
the sperm bank?
The Highview Fire Company, 8 Airport Drive in Depew. Okay, $4 of every item sold is being donated to the fire hall
Wow,
for putting out fires.
that's huge.
Yeah, it is. It is huge. Everyone can come. You can go.
I'm gonna.
Do you want to go with me?
I would love to go with you.
I wanted to ask you, but I wasn't sure if you would.
I'm glad you did it on air.
They're probably going to do a few giveaways.
Really?
Yeah, it's from 11 to 2. Do you think you can make it?
Yes.
Okay, everybody better go. So like I said, it's flattering. Doesn't matter if you're thick. These are flattering. This is flattering clothing. There's hot patterns, Jay.
Mhm.
Hot. The leggings are hot. You know what's big right now?
What's that?
Randy Tees.
Really?
Yeah, I need you to look that up and check them out.
Yeah.
Okay. So again, LuLaRoe. That's LuLaRoe, Lindsay, and Rachel. Okay, fashion consultants.
Now for like, if I wanted to just check out their stuff right now, just to see what it looked like right now,
Go on their Facebook.
go right on their Facebook.
Go right on their Facebook. LuLaRoe, Lindsay, and Rachel.
Can you spell LuLaRoe?
LuLaRoe.
Okay.
LuLaRoe.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Check
hit
that
them
shit
up.
out.
Yeah, check them out on Instagram. You can check out all their stuff there. Fantastic stuff. Get yourself a pop-up. Get yourself some free clothes. Get your sale on.
Love it. Now I have a question.
Go ahead.
I noticed you said pop up
Yeah,
a few times.
I did.
When you walked in the studio, that was the first thing that came to my mind was pop up.
Oh, why?
Because it looked like your veins were bulging out so hard that they were pointing at me, and I was like, "Whoa, pop up!"
Yeah.
I thought you were attacking me.
No.
I was concerned.
No, I would never do that.
Why? How? I don't understand.
Have you ever heard of T+?
What?
Yeah, it's a natural testosterone booster.
Oh, that's from Onnit.
Onnit.com.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Incredible.
You take this stuff, you put 2 scoops in your drink,
Yeah.
about a half hour before your workout. You start pumping, whether you're throwing kettlebells, bodies, jiu-jitsu, boxing, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Okay? It's going to make you strong.
Yeah.
Gorilla strong. You don't need that. You don't need it, but I'm going to make you take it anyway. I want to see what happens when you actually get stronger.
Yeah.
Yeah. Onnit.com. Do you know how they can get to Onnit.com?
Oh, I sure do.
Take a guess.
They can either visit the site right there, or they can go to our fucking site, www.thesavagepodcast.net.
Yeah,
Right.
hit it up.
Check out our portal right there. Click the link and get you some fucking T+.
You can get right to Onnit right through us.
Yeah. Rear naked choke, anyone? Heard of it? Your opponent is not going to want to be in one of these, especially if you have taken this supplement.
It's a natural testosterone booster, too.
Yeah.
What it does is it tells your body to create testosterone. You're not putting any shit in it.
Right.
And that goes with all the Onnit's products. They're all natural, all earth-grown nutrients. There's no shit.
Yeah.
There's no shit. You're not going to grow a third arm out of your back
Right. No chemicals.
for me to take home.
Right.
Nothing like that.
All earth grown.
That's right. Onnit.com.
I
Get
love
you
it.
some.
1, 2, 3.
Karate. Yeah.
Defense is my specialty.
It looks like a sturgeon.
Combat.
Back off my dick.
Sex.
Don't think I won't slap you.
The Jewish rainbow?
You wanna Snickers and chill?
Mind control. Hey everyone, welcome to the Savage Podcast.
Glad to have you, motherfuckers.
So speaking of jiu-jitsu, we have a guest coming up.
He's kind of a special guest.
He is the guest.
How long have you been watching his videos?
Let's see, 3, forever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were watching it when I came in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had to make you turn it off. Stephan Kesting is going to be on this motherfucking show
That's
in
huge.
about a minute.
He is amazing.
Canada's own.
Yeah.
What's up with all these great Canadians?
Right?
What's up?
Fuck. What's up, Canada?
What's up?
And shit.
What's up?
Visit grapplearts.com to check out Stephan Kesting.
Mhm.
He's got so much great content. He's going to be such a great guest. I know how knowledgeable he is.
You're going to hear about all of it,
Yeah.
okay? We've even got a few fan questions for him,
Yes.
you know? Because everybody knows who the fuck he is.
Right.
If you do jujitsu,
Right.
you know who he is.
Right.
Right. You right. So what do you think? I think is that him?
That's him.
Why don't we take this call? It seems kind of important.
Sure is.
You are listening to the Savage Podcast. Visit www.thesavagepodcast.net.
So, Stephan, you are on the Savage Podcast. How are you, my man?
I am very well. I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
We are huge, huge fans. In fact, our whole academy here in Buffalo, New York, watches your videos, and we actually teach a lot of the stuff that we watch from you on YouTube.
Oh, I'm glad that it's of help.
Right off the bat, I wanted to bring up Grapple Arts. I guess you'd call it your portal of information for jiu-jitsu. It's excellent. I love it. And I wanted to know what spawned the idea of this roadmap to BJJ.
Well, the idea is that I see a lot of people struggling with jiu-jitsu. It's a complex martial art. I've always said, and I've gotten in trouble for saying, that jiu-jitsu is way, way, way more complicated than boxing. Like in boxing, you can jab me, you can cross me, you can hook me, you can body punch me, you can overhand right me, you can uppercut me, and now we're kind of beginning to run out of punches. I mean, maybe there are a few more, bolo punch or rabbit punch, but by and large, you got about 6 positions. You might have your hands up, you might have your hands down, You might be standing orthodox or southpaw. Now we've kind of summed up most of boxing.
Sure.
I'm not dissing on boxing, but it's a relatively simple martial art. The nuances of it take an incredibly long time to develop, but no professional boxer ever called his coach and said, that guy hit me with a totally new punch that I've never seen before. I've been doing jiu-jitsu for 25 years, and I see stuff that I've never seen before on a regular basis.
Sure, absolutely, every day.
Yeah, all the time, yeah. Or you end up in a position going, I have no idea how I got here. I've never been here before. The other guy's never been there before, and it's like, okay, let's adaptively try to problem solve this. But because it's so much more complicated, it really helps to have a bit of a framework. It really helps to have an understanding that they're really let's say an 80-20 analysis, that 80% of the time you're going to be spending that time in one of a few different positions. You're either going to be in the guard or having the other guy in your guard. You're either going to be in the mount or have the other guy mounted on you. Same's for knee mount. Same's true for side mount. Same's true for turtle. Same's true for what position I leave out?
Back control.
Guard. Back control. You can tell it's live radio. So if you understand those positions and have a couple of options from each of those 6 positions, and if you want, you can fine slice the guard a little bit more: open guard, closed guard, half guard, and you can, obviously there's a million types of guard, but if you have a couple of basic go-to options for each of those positions, all of a sudden jiu-jitsu just became a whole lot simpler. So once I started explaining this to people, you see, I think I'd done the hard learning myself, just trying to memorize 1,000 different techniques.
Sure.
The way most jiu-jitsu beginners end up going through it. But it wasn't really until I started teaching it and trying to help people with their own jiu-jitsu that it became obvious to me that we needed to simplify it a little bit, or just give it a structure. So you have a place to, you learn a new technique today? Great. Put that in the escapes from side mount category, as opposed to another, technique number 8,533.
Sure,
right.
absolutely.
I think that was a great question, Joe. Stephan, I have a question for you. Now we bring this topic up ever so often because we always get emails and questions, and it's generally from practitioners that just started. You see people come in to the academy and they roll at 100%. They're typically, oh well, I wrestled all my life. Well, okay. They come in and they roll as hard as they can, and they get to a position where they don't quite understand where they are. Do you have advice for people walking into the door as far as at a percentage how hard they should be rolling, just to really solidify techniques?
Yeah, that's obviously you should try and use technique and leverage over strength and athleticism. Right. But some people are just never going to learn this. One group of students or one category of people will listen to you and they'll say, oh, okay, the guy is telling me to use less strength, so I'll use less strength and I'll try using more technique. Mm-hmm. All right. Then the second group of people will, you'll have to work on them, and then gradually they'll figure out that, I'm just going to use a little bit of strength, and before you know it, it's a full-on death match. And then the third group of people you're never in a million years going to be able to convince, no matter what you say. And unfortunately, those people, they're going to hit their plateau pretty quick, because what they're doing might work against beginners. It might even work against intermediate players who haven't figured out their game yet, right? If you're a big, strong wrestler and you've figured out that forward pressure in the guard kind of shuts down most beginners and most intermediate level guys. Well, the intermediate level guys will figure out how to counter that. They should be able to eventually. And the advanced guys are going to kill them. So they're just never going to make any progress. They're never going to develop any technical passes. There's a time and place for athleticism and weight and energy and aggression. But, if it's like this, if you wanted to learn boxing again, and every boxing match was a full-on sparring session, just clubbing each other in the head, you're never going to learn the nuances of slipping a jab or putting your weight behind you've got to spend your time on the focus mitts and shadow boxing and the technical sparring and working with a coach. And it's not just a giant slugfest. Same true for jiu-jitsu. But some people will just never learn. They're kind of lost causes, and as long as they don't injure other people, I suppose that's all you can do.
Right. Now, it took me, because I came in from, when I first started jiu-jitsu, I came in with a very heavy, just like I said, I was one of those guys. I came in with a very heavy background in wrestling. I took martial arts my whole life. And jiu-jitsu was so new to me that I thought I had to jump in and go as hard as I can. And, I got stuck, and it worked for just a little while, you could tell, but then more knowledgeable guys came in and just wiped the mats with me. And it was a humbling experience until it took probably about 6 months before I really learned to be okay with getting tapped, because something that we always preach at the academy and we always get preached to us is position over submission. So it took me a while myself, a while to let go of my ego and to actually put myself in a vulnerable position where I can learn and be adaptable to the sport, to the art.
Often bigger, stronger guys or guys with a background in wrestling are the worst. But if they actually, if they actually can put their ego on the shelf for a little bit and say, okay, I got to figure out this side mount escape business. I got to figure out how to sweep from the guard. I have to figure out, a technical way to submit somebody and not just to grab their head and squeeze and hope for it to explode like a zip. Then they become really good.
Yeah.
But it does take that little step, one step backward to make 2 steps forward progress.
Yeah, we try and explain that as new students come in to the academy all the time. And like I said, I was one of those guys where I wouldn't let my ego go. I brought it right with me on the mat. And if someone got me into a position where I was going to be tapped or, whatever, I just held on for dear life. And I took, I'm a bigger guy. I'm 220 pounds of raw steel. And I just held on. And it got either of us really nowhere, because there's no play. The game stops, and there's no room for learning at that point. But like I said, I had to take my ego back, put it on the shelf, like you said, and it's been nothing but learning ever since.
And one of the great things, Stephan, is Jay and I kind of found this out simultaneously. I did not have an extensive wrestling background, but I did have a bit of a jiu-jitsu background before I came to the academy that I'm at. And Jay and I, maybe to a new person and maybe an intermediate person, might seem like two people that probably shouldn't be rolling or sparring partners, but we exclusively seek each other out because both of us know to go about 70%. I'm like a mini Jay. I'm 170. If you blew me up and made me 2.0, I'd be Jay, but I'm not. So, but we roll to learn. We get each other in, detrimental positions, and then it's, not always going for the kill, letting the other person work. That we go by that 70% rule, I would say.
Yeah, we go back and forth. It's a great flow, and it's a great rhythm.
And I think that 70% rule is a great start. That's one way to verbalize it or force people to do it. Another way is, there are a number of different drills that you can do to try and break through to people. So the 70% thing, certain percentage of people will be able to internalize that and use that as a guide. Another way to do it is to say, okay, you have to start in a bad position. Or, okay, big, strong wrestler, you have to start on your back.
Dun, 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 dun.
That was a tough one.
Yeah, that's the kryptonite for the wrestler. Put
You're
Jay,
right, though.
Put Jay on his back, and it was like, uh-oh. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, then adapt or die, right?
Yeah,
Right.
adapt or I like. Now, Stephan, I get the feeling that you're a good-sized guy, but I can't quite tell. How big are you?
About 205 to 210 and 6'1"-ish.
Oh, yeah, you're a big boy.
He's a big boy.
You're a big boy. You're a big boy. That's great. Now, do you, I mean, as a teacher, I'm sure you probably see this a ton, so this might be an obvious question, but do you often run into guys who are larger than you that, come in, maybe they're new and try to go 100% on you? Or do you, as a teacher, usually have a little more respect reserved for yourself and maybe don't deal with that personally as much?
I'm always very leery of the athletic beginner. I think there's no more dangerous animal on the mat.
That's true.
The athletic beginner who is going to try leaping in a random direction at a random time,
Right, yeah.
all of his strength, is a great way to either for him to get hurt or you to get hurt. I'll never forget. I really like leg locks, and I've trained heel hooks and the dangerous leg locks a lot. But the one time I tore a guy's ACL, I was holding an ankle lock. I wasn't even applying it. I was sitting back. I was holding an ankle lock, and the guy was going against another sort of athletic guy, I think he drove a Trans Am or drove a Mustang, lifted weights, came to class in a wife beater,
He was a guy.
Yeah,
He was a
that
guy.
might have been me, Stephan.
It looked like he came direct from the Jersey Shore.
Perfect.
Yes.
And so I'm sitting there holding the ankle lock, and all of a sudden he tries spinning to the left, and I'm just sitting there holding the ankle lock, and then he spins to the right, and he tears his ACL,
Oh,
and I have not moved. I'm like a statue. It's like he's stuck his foot in a gopher hole, and then done a full power ballet pirouette, and then he screams, he dry heaves, and so in that case, he's hurt himself.
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But at the same time, the exact same thing could have happened. He could have decided that the way to pass the guard is to do the human flying torpedo head first through the guard, and it's not going to be replicable. But the odds of 95% of the time you're going to be able to shut it down easily, and 5% of the time you're going to end up with a broken nose or
Worse.
an orbital bone fracture or something crazy.
Oh,
So
yeah.
I'm actually the older I get, I'm 47. The longer I've been doing jiu-jitsu, the more selective I'm getting about who I wrestle with in my training, because at this point, I'd like to keep on training into my 60s and 70s.
Sure.
And that does mean sort of checking my ego at the door. I went through a long time of rolling with anybody, anywhere, anytime. Hey, we're on carpet. Okay, let's roll. Hey, we're on cement. Okay, let's roll. Hey, there are two of you, and you want to see if two guys on carpet. And to anyone who's not rolled on carpet,
Oh boy.
it's horrendous.
That's the worst.
Yeah, that's just like dragging your body through a brush burn field. That's terrible.
Oh, yeah, exactly. I had scars on my. I won those matches, and I lost. I lost the war. I had scars on my head that looked like I had leprosy for about 6 months.
Wow.
Yeah, Stephan, the carpet always wins.
Exactly. No matter what your skill is, the carpet always wins. So yeah, my desire for longevity in the sport, that's always been there, but I am becoming more selective about who I roll with. It's just not worth it to have some big guy try some super low percentage technique and, get out of it and take his back and choke him out. But you know what? Then your neck's jacked, or whatever body part has been bothering you recently is jacked. And so it's a hard thing, though, because the ego is based around, I'll spar anywhere, anytime, any place. And that's not the way to longevity. That's the way to become a super tough fighter. So I went through wanting to do that earlier. I don't do too much of that anymore. So
in the long run, it kind of breaks your body down too. We're pretty hardy as humans, but you can really only handle so much throughout the longevity of your life, and it starts to add up pretty quickly.
I mean, statistically, in ancient Rome, I think what was the average lifestyle? 30 years.
Yep.
So if you wanted to go hard, you could go hard, because you'd probably be dead by the time that you had to, all that damage caught up with you. But ultimately, every joint you abuse in your 20s will come and catch up with you in your 30s and 40s. So, that's a lesson that everybody should learn or should be taught, and it should be driven home again and again. But unfortunately, if your goal is performance at a high level, you do have to walk that tightrope, and you do have to go over the edge sometimes, and you do have to, to get tough, you have to risk injury. I think I can get out of this armbar. I think I can. Oops, I couldn't.
Nope.
But if no high-level competitor in the world is going to be easily tapping to an armbar because he's worried about the arm getting hurt, to be tough, he has to push it, and he has to occasionally take the damage. So it's like trying to become an MMA guy without ever doing hard sparring.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah, absolutely. Now, on the other end of the spectrum, since we're talking about big guys, I want to know what it was like rolling with Marcelo Garcia.
Oh, best guy I've ever rolled with. The end.
There it is.
Now, I saw the video on YouTube of you, and I've always looked at that, and I was like, because, he's a smaller guy. Now,
doesn't feel like a smaller guy.
No.
At all.
Now, is he?
Well, the funny thing there, at the time I had a pretty good turtle, and so I was going to New York. I was like, I'm going to go train with Marcelo, and I know, from like doing my research, I know he does this. So when he does that, I'm going to try this other thing, and I know he does this other thing, and when he does that, I'm going to try countering it by, with this other move. So I had my move, his counter move, and my counter move, or my recounter, all planned out for a bunch of different moves. But the problem is he just knows the next 12 levels.
Oh, God.
And so you just go deeper and deeper and deeper into the pit, and there's no coming out. And it's an awesome experience. I'll say the other guy I rolled with who was super spooky to roll with was Jean-Jacques Machado.
Oh, yeah.
Almost no strength at all.
Wow.
And basically, Marcelo, definitely one of the best people I've ever rolled with. Jean-Jacques Machado, probably the other best person I've ever rolled with. Very different experiences. There's a lot of iron backing up. Marcelo grabs you. He grabs you. That grip is not coming off.
Oh,
right?
Like an orangutan.
Yeah. It's crazy isometric strength, but he's not using it. But once he sinks something, it's there, right? It's not using strength to force it on, but it's certainly using an isometric strength to hold it. I remember with Jean-Jacques, I think I rolled with him. I was a purple belt. I managed to knee him in the head fairly early in our match. So I was like, oh God, whatever happens here, this is going to be painful. On rolling. And I think he took mount. I started to turn. We ended up in some kind of face down position. And then I realized, hey, he's got my arm fully extended. He wasn't applying it at all. He was just holding the arm bar there, waiting for me to realize that, I've actually been caught here. So that was quite funny because I was quite expecting to be to get a little bit cranked.
But he took mercy, huh?
He took mercy. I think apologizing when you're basic rule. If you hurt someone when sparring, say, "Oh, sorry, my fault."
Absolutely.
So absolutely. To de-escalate most situations.
So
yeah, that was another great experience.
Is it safe to say that you didn't, on either of those two guys, gain any advantageous positions?
Well, I think I've sometimes managed to get the first level counter in, but you're just really falling into a trap, right? If you know attack A and I know counter B, but you know counters
C through Z,
yeah, then it's hard to tell who's doing what to whom. Like, is he letting me roll him, or is he really just going to a better position?
Sure.
So, yes, it's safe to say he was in no danger of tapping out. How's that?
Have you ever rolled with Hickson?
No, I did get Hickson to choke me once. It was at the first Metamoris.
Oh.
And, so there's a photo. I think it might be on my Instagram. Not sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Hickson doing a rear naked choke on me in the middle of a crowd. Everyone else wanted a photo of, like, Hickson and I doing the surfer hand signs, or Los Angeles gang hand signs.
Yeah.
I wanted a photo of him choking me.
I've actually heard Jean-Jacques talk about how good Hickson is before on YouTube, and I've heard I've heard mixed things. I know there's people out there that say he's got the old style. It wouldn't hold up today. But then I've got
He's also 50 odd years old with a ton of mileage on him. I mean, I'm sure he could throw down,
yeah,
but he's not going to be able to train the way he did when he was young and an animal. I mean, the the thing that's missing here is he was a really good athlete
yeah,
as well as really super knowledgeable. He was sort of the first example of, you need technique plus you need conditioning. He was
sure,
lifting weights when it wasn't cool to lift weights. He was running. He was doing all kinds of weird, well, the yoga, the gymnastica naturale,
yeah,
the wrestling. He was doing a lot of different things. So he was a superb athlete as well as a superb technician. I've heard the same thing. I've heard lots of people say he was the best they ever rolled with. I think, to take him now and stick him in EBI, I mean, that's just a stupid proposition. That's getting into Green Lantern versus versus Spider-Man. I mean, one's DC, one's Marvel. They can't fight.
You're right. You're right.
He right.
So, Stephan, to pull the conversation in a little bit different of a direction, I want to talk about jiu-jitsu as a whole as far as the importance it is for self-defense. Now, I preach to all of my female friends how important it is because of the simple fact that generally in any kind of altercation, whether it be on the street or if it's an attack or anything, 9 times out of 10, it's going to land on the ground. And that's why it's so important that jiu-jitsu is being implemented when, these self-defense courses that they go and take. And I went to one once and I kind of chuckled because it was more self-empowering when in my head I'm like, okay, well, if they really want to defend themselves, jiu-jitsu is going to help them in such a, I'm going to say it's one of the best ways you can defend yourself, especially as a woman, because of the groundwork. What are your thoughts about that? Now, actually, one more thing. I have watched all your self-defense videos. I love the ones where I think you're wearing like a leather jacket on the street next to a dumpster. Those are awesome.
Yeah.
And they're great. And I like how you put real-time things and scenarios into play. They're wonderful.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is something I've been thinking a lot about because I'm starting a secondary. I'm not stopping grapple arts, but I am starting another site called Self-Defense Tutorials. And one of the very first articles I put on there was about the importance of grappling in self-defense. Now, I'm not saying that grappling is the ultimate answer to everything. I think you got to know how to punch, you got to know how to kick. If you can arm yourself with a weapon, do that.
Right.
But of all the martial arts, I think jiu-jitsu is the most important one. And here are sort of 3 reasons why, especially if you're smaller, especially if you're a smaller person. Here are 3 reasons I think jiu-jitsu is the most important thing you can learn. Number 1, so many fights do go to the ground. And so many fights, especially for a woman, not many women get raped standing up.
Right.
So it's going to end up on the ground even at a higher percentage than if you and I start swinging at each other. I mean, that was the original point that the Gracies had, that if you and I start swinging at each other, unless there's a knockout right away, eventually I'm going to get sick and tired of you hitting me in the face or the other way around, and I'm going to grab onto you. It's what boxers do when they get tired of getting hit. And if we're struggling enough, the odds of us simply falling to the ground are pretty high.
Sure.
They're even higher if one of us is a wrestler or a judoka or a jiu-jitsu player. And they're even higher if one of the persons is a woman, because many times it's a sexual assault that we're talking about. So it's just a fact of life, so you got to know how to do it. Secondly, and I think it was Jocko Willink who pointed this out first, all your other best defenses usually involve running, right? If I pull out a knife, you should run.
Sure.
If I'm bigger than you, you should run. If we're in a bad part of town and I might have friends around, you should run. But if I'm grabbing onto you, you can't run. So the kind of the worst case scenario where you can't clear distance is a grappling situation. So you have to deal with a grappling situation first before, say you've got a machete in your car, but you can't get to your car because I'm hanging on to you. Even if you're a 10th Dan Escrimador, or whatever the rating system is in your Eskrima system, and you really want to get to your machete and your dagger, so you can, espada daga me to death. If I'm hanging on to you, you can't get from here to there. And thirdly, using jiu-jitsu and using leverage is the best way to actually defeat a large opponent. Using jiu-jitsu, leverage, and knowledge.
Right.
Because you can actually use leverage. Smaller people defeat each other all the time on the jiu-jitsu mat. I love seeing like an experienced blue belt or purple belt chick tapping out brand new white belt guys. It's fantastic. You've seen it happen, I'm sure.
Yes.
We've never met. I've never been to your school, but I guarantee that's happened.
Yep. Oh, yeah.
And you never see that in a boxing contest. To see, a 120-pound boxer knock out a 190-pound boxer never happens.
Nope.
So, I mean, you might win on points, but you're not going to knock the person out. So, just for the effectiveness of it, the fact is a fact of life, and because it can control all the other great things you can do. You might be the world's best kickboxer. If you can't deal with a grappling thing, you're not going to be able to kickbox me.
Nice.
Yeah.
Beautiful point. Beautiful points.
Yeah, that's incredible that you brought up that point that a really solid blue or purple belt female can wipe the mats with generally, speaking, we've all seen it. There's someone that we roll with that when we first walked in the doors that she's so small. She's probably 87 pounds soaking wet, but she's right from Brazil and she's trained in Brazil, and not just because of the weight difference. I'm going to say that when I first walked in the doors, I was able to just hold her. Like I said, I would just lock down and no one could touch me kind of situation. But I could tell as I got more experienced that her form and her style and her flow and just what she's able to do would definitely take out a large portion of the population because she was so knowledgeable. And she was, she's just a blue belt?
She was, blue, I think maybe a stripe.
Yeah. Incredible form.
You also weren't trying to attack her, right? If you had actually been trying to attack her or improve your position or get off something on her, then you would have given her the opening to, unleash a can of whoop ass on you.
Right. I was just trying to get away from her.
Yeah. One of the
larger, stronger opponent can survive if he does nothing but stall against a smaller, more vicious. Well, that's not a bad situation, right? I mean, if a big attacker breaks into a house and tries to rape the woman living there, and she manages to stop him from hurting her and stop the assault from occurring, and then eventually he gets frustrated and runs away, we would call that a success. It doesn't need to end with him having a broken arm or being, drooling unconscious on the floor from being choked out. For her to have won, her winning is not dying and not getting assaulted.
Right, and that's definitely a win. In fact, speaking of that, I enjoy watching some of these bully videos online of kids at school, and you'll see, kids will whip out their cell phone nowadays and take video of a kid about to be attacked by a bully. And I saw this one where they started grappling a little bit, standing up, and then it was very clear that the one that was going to be attacked had martial arts background, and he immediately took it to the ground and threw the bully into an armbar, and you could see the bully cry. And I watched that, and I like that. Is that weird? No.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. And speaking on that girl you're talking about, Jay, one of the things that is also noticeable when you're new and you're not, you might be an athlete, you might run, but jiu-jitsu has its own fitness level, and I think anything does. So when you go into something new, your cardio could be great, but the jiu-jitsu cardio might not be there yet. And no matter what happens, even when you hold her down, after that first round timer clicks off and she's ready for the next round, your arms are shot, all the blood's in your arms, and now she's drooling like a caged animal, ready to just tap you out, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna sit this one down. I'm not going there.
On that sort of a related topic, part of the reason that people who even might be in decent shape are gassing out is just the unfamiliarity of it. So that for female self-defense, but even guy self-defense, I've seen so many. Well, we'll start with guys and then we'll go on to women. I've seen a lot of big bodybuilder guys come into jiu-jitsu class and start rolling, and they get mounted and they lose their minds. They're exhausted, right? The bench press is the universal escape because they've got a giant bench, and they're exhausted within 15 seconds.
Yep.
And they're also panicking. So I think the biggest advantage of jiu-jitsu, and I think it's in one of those leather jacket videos that you were talking about, is on the YouTube channel, is that the desensitization to proximity, getting used to having somebody in your face, to have somebody kneeling on your face, to have somebody, trying to smush you into the ground, can be totally terrifying. So
Sure.
And it can get people's brains to shut off. So from a self-defense perspective, or an anti-assault perspective, or an anti-rape perspective, just getting comfortable with that physical proximity and going, okay, this in itself is not the end of the world. And keep thinking. Because if your brain shuts off, you're going to do stupid things. If you're keeping on thinking, I don't know what the best solution in your situation might be. Is it going to be to yell or not yell? Is it going to be to pull out the knife that you have or not pull out the knife that you have? Is it going to be to promise the person you're going to give them what they want? Or is it going to be to threaten them and tell them you've called the cops? I don't know. I'm not in your situation. But if you're not thinking, then you're not rationally evaluating what the best next step is. So if you can desensitize yourself to that physical proximity, because honestly, if you and I were having a conversation face to face, would be what? 2-3 feet away from each other, maybe 4 feet.
To you, you're pretty handsome. I'd probably be a little closer than that.
Okay, but if we were nose to nose, I think it would start getting weird.
Yes.
And we're not used to that range, basically outside the range of our, if our kid comes and jumps on our lap, or you're snuggling up to your girlfriend, okay, that range is comfortable. Outside of jiu-jitsu class, that range is just weird.
Yeah, right.
And if you've never done jiu-jitsu class, all of a sudden they're experiencing violence in a super close contact context, and they lose their minds. They forget everything they know. So I think that's actually the biggest benefit of jiu-jitsu.
Absolutely. That's a fantastic point. That's a great point. Absolutely. And we've seen it 100 times. So, Jay, you got something?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, to remind everyone,
Yes,
right now we're live with Stephan Kesting.
Hell yeah.
BJJ specialist. We've been watching his online content forever. I personally, I'm enrolled in his email. We'll get to that in a second. I want Stephan to let everyone know how they can get onto his email list, because it's amazing, and there's a ton of content, and it's amazing content. It's amazing. There's things in there that I don't tell you about, which I wrote Stephan about to not tell you about because I want to try him on you.
Yeah.
But you're listening to Stephan Kesting here on the Savage Podcast with Sav Joe and Sav J.
That's right.
You can check us out at www.thesavagepodcast.net. Check out our Twitter handle at ampersand podcast savage. I'm sorry, savages.
Yeah.
My apologies.
That's okay. That's okay. We're not going to.
Ampersand, that's not a word that's dropped into casual conversation nearly often enough.
We drop it like it's hot.
Yeah, we don't say at anymore. We picked it up to ampersand.
Yeah.
I love it.
Podcast Savages. And then also our Instagram, of course, the Savage Podcast. Just so people know how to get to view your content, Stephan, what are your I want you to shout out your handles.
Oh, good Lord. There's quite a few. Grapplearts.com is the main website. That is where I put everything from the instructional apps that I've produced to the articles I write to the videos I shoot. And there's still DVDs there if that's what turns your crank. That's the website. as you said, I do send out a ton of jiu-jitsu related emails. It's
They're
free.
amazing. They're amazing.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's awesome.
And you can also download that book that you referenced earlier, The Roadmap for BJJ. So the easiest way to do both of those, to go to grapplearts.com/book. I'm also on YouTube. So a lot of people follow me on YouTube. They subscribe there. So that's youtube.com/Stephan Kesting. Or alternately, if you do a search for my name on YouTube, hopefully I pop up. If I don't pop up, that means I haven't been doing my work.
You are YouTube.
Yeah, you're everywhere. People just Google his name.
Yeah.
He's everywhere. Check him out on YouTube. Like you said, go to grapplearts.com and check out all of his amazing content.
Everything's on there.
Everything is right there.
Forget where I was, but I was somewhere, I think of some government agency where I needed to identify myself. Like I needed to prove that I was me. And I was like, look,
Google me.
just Google my name.
Yeah.
You know you're the shit when you can say, "Hey, Google me, bitch."
But they wouldn't do it. They wouldn't do it. I mean, maybe I'm this other Stephan Kesting who's somehow managed to place, hundreds and hundreds of videos and photos of himself online. I don't know. I thought it was a fairly good solution to the dilemma. Instead, I had to turn around, drive home, go get the whatever identification that, I think it was that second piece of identification. I forget. I had to go get my passport from home.
Isn't that your black belt? Can't you just whip that out?
Right.
Look, just let me come over that would work really well with the transportation safety ACP. Let me just come across this counter and show you an arm stroke.
Oh, I love it.
Oh, that's the taser.
That's great. Well, that's a great. Well, not so much the taser.
I've always liked the Cuban climate. I'm on my way to Guantanamo right now. Yeah, that might not be the best plan.
Beautiful.
Stephan, one thing I wanted to ask you, because I watched a wonderful video that you put together. It was about breathing and how important it is. And that was one thing that I struggled with for a long time until I was able to just relax and be in the moment and to really learn and pay attention to what was going on and to feel my body flow, feel my partner's body flow. But after a while, I was able to stop panting like a wrestler would.
Mm-hmm.
How important is breathing? And do you have any tips for anyone as far as their breathing and how to control it? Like I'm a practitioner of yoga. I'm trying my hardest. I'm terrible at it. I am absolutely awful, but I'm doing everything that I can to really control my breathing and my heart rate.
Can I just, before he answers that, can I just highlight how funny it is sometimes that breathing is the one thing we do, and sometimes we don't do it right? Isn't that it's like, could you imagine if there was something that involved blinking and you were I'm just not a good fucking blinker. I just don't have it down. All right, go ahead.
Okay, so I've studied, breathing arts in the sense of I've done yoga, different kinds of yoga, done Tai Chi, I've done Xingyi, internal martial arts. There are all kinds of super flaky breathing disciplines, and I don't think you need any of them. I think you need to get oxygen to your muscles when you're working. And it's super common for people when they're grappling to be holding their breath. They get stressed, they get worried, they start breathing shallow. This is really common. For some people, it happens when they're grappling people who are better than them. I don't want that black belt to tap me out with that really ridiculous choke again. Some people, on the other hand, breathe shallow when they're fighting people who are not as good as them because they don't want to lose to somebody who underranks them. Some people, this is only a problem in competition. Now their entire team is watching them, their instructor's watching them. They feel like the honor of their school and the honor of jiu-jitsu rests on their shoulders, which is bullshit, but that's what they think. So for whatever reason, they start holding their breath. And if you hold your breath when you're working as hard as you can, it's going to go really poorly. You might be able to hold your breath for a 100-yard dash, but you're not going to be able to hold your breath for 400 meters. You're just not going to be able to do it.
Nope.
You're going to fall over and die. So similarly for jiu-jitsu, if you're a breath holder, and you might be and not realize it, knowing how to breathe fully and get enough air in there to get oxygen to your muscles so you can keep on fighting and keep on moving is crazy important. So if that's your problem, then forget about remembering where to put your hand for the cross-collar choke. Forget about setting up your De La Hiva guard properly. The most important thing you can do is to focus on your breathing. Every couple of seconds, check in with yourself and go, am I holding my breath? And have I taken a great big breath? Some people say every time you move, every time you advance your grip, every time you shift your weight, take a breath. That's, I think, a useful heuristic for some people.
I like that.
Regardless of how you do it, though, you gotta breathe. So whether you breathe, diaphragmatically or in the chest, that's way less important than not breathing. I think runaway hyperventilation is a problem too, but it's less of a problem. This whole panting, if you're working hard, you need more oxygen. I remember I used to compete in something called the Firefighter Combat Challenge. It's basically, an hour, 30 minutes, 1.5 minutes to 3-minute race where you're wearing heavy bunker gear. So you got 50 pounds of kit on you. You're racing up and down stairs, carrying another 50 pounds of kit. You're hitting things with sledgehammers. It's really exhausting. And I took 15 seconds off my time, which is huge, just by starting to hyperventilate a few seconds before I did my race, as opposed to waiting until I needed that air to start hyperventilating. So really a delay of hyperventilation of 15 to 20 seconds was costing me a huge amount of performance. So if you're working hard on the mat, take big breaths. If you're resting on the mat, still take big breaths, but try and control them, right? In and out. Try and take big full breaths, if you can, down into your abdomen. And that's where you should do your yoga, because yoga is all about abdominal breathing, diaphragmatic breathing. So if you can learn to breathe diaphragmatically, basically when you take a big breath in, your stomach should go out rather than your chest puff up, if you want to get really simplistic about it. That's the most efficient kind of breathing.
Okay.
I mean, there are cases when you want to breathe shallow. There are cases when if somebody's trying to choke you, if you take a big breath out in preparation for taking a big breath in, probably that choke's going to go a little bit tighter. So there are times when you want to not do that big, heavy breathing. There are times when you want to have your lungs almost full and just sort of bellow a little bit of air in and out. And maybe maybe that'll buy you the extra 5 seconds you need to break the grips or to get out of the choke some other way.
Yeah, one of the things I learned while training kettlebells is to breathe beneath your shield, they say. Which is
I've never heard that expression. What does it mean?
Keeping your core tight and learning how to breathe in that situation without it keeps you from overexerting and keeps your breath pattern regulated, so that even during times of high intensity bursts, you're still able to control yourself. And that actually, kettlebells really help my jiu-jitsu. I don't know if you've worked with them at all.
I do kettlebell stuff fairly regularly. I stick basically just, after some experimentation with all the fancy get-up stuff and snatches and clean and press, I basically just do swings now. Okay. I find that's probably translates across to jiu-jitsu the most, because it's basically a bridging motion, right? It's a deadlifting, bridging, Olympic lifting motion, which powers 80% of jiu-jitsu when it comes right down to it.
We had our last guest, Keith Weber. He's I don't know if you've heard of him. He was on Joe Rogan's podcast. That's actually how I found him. I was watching his DVDs for about 1.5 years before we actually got him on the show, which was kind of cool. But one other thing that I noticed,
for being persistent.
Yeah, one thing I noticed about kettlebells too, and kind of why that's actually my only weight training that I do, and I would do that regardless whether I do boxing, kickboxing, and jiu-jitsu. I would do it regardless, but one of the big things that it's helped in jiu-jitsu, especially with the gi work, is swinging a 48-pound, 52-pound kettlebell definitely improves the strength of your grip. 100%. Yeah. I found that. And I'm one of the smaller guys at jiu-jitsu. I'm not frame-wise, but I'm definitely one of the shorter guys. And one of the things I found is, that hand fighting and grip fighting is so key, and kettlebells, for me, took that to the next level. So I can definitely thank them for that. But to what you're saying too, the swing is definitely huge for that bridging motion and being able to pop that guy up off your mount and shrimp the hell out of there.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think, you know, especially with the advent of CrossFit, all of a sudden the Olympic lifts, the snatch and the clean and jerk, became popular. But unfortunately, they're really technical lifts. I can't count the number of CrossFit aficionados I know who've damaged their wrists. It's usually my first, do you work out? Yeah, I do CrossFit. My next question is, how are your wrists?
Yeah.
Because so many people are doing the cleans wrong. And I can't do a proper clean where you catch the weight on your front deltoids and your fingers are just basically underneath it. I can only do it the wrong way, which is catching it and racking it on my wrists.
Yeah.
But as you get better with the cleans, there's more and more weight coming down at velocity on your wrists.
Well,
And so a lot of people, I mean, I'm not saying that all CrossFit people have crappy form for cleans, but a lot of them do.
sure,
So
absolutely.
Olympic lifting is effective, but a little bit more dangerous. I think kettlebell swings achieve, for a jiu-jitsu context anyway, most of the gains with far lower risk.
Yeah, that's a great point. You know, it's funny too because we may be able to help out your kettlebell clean because Keith Weber is a fellow Canadian as well. Where are you in Canada?
Oh, I'm on the West Coast, a couple hours on Vancouver, British Columbia, so a couple hours.
You're in
Yeah.
Vancouver. That's beautiful. I've always wanted to go there. Keith is in Alberta, just outside of Edmonton.
Cool.
Yeah, he's actually been looking to get into jiu-jitsu. He's a 3-time Ironman. He's you could shred cheddar cheese on his abdomen. He's absolutely fit as a fiddle. Great, fantastic guy. He's coming to New York soon. So, being that he can make us look like idiots with the kettlebell, we invited him onto the mat so we could beat him in something. But judging by how fit he is, I'm not gonna lie, I don't like my chances. So, Jay, what do you got, man? I know you got something over there for Stephan. This is a huge one.
This is a huge one. I wanted to point out to everyone that once you step foot into an academy or dojang or wherever you start up your journey with jiu-jitsu, how big of a lifestyle change it is. And one thing that I learned from my wrestling coach when I first started wrestling was he said that if I started wrestling, which they brought me up to the varsity level at a very young age because I was very athletic, was that it would help with my confidence because your ego just goes out the door because you're standing on a mat and it's your ego versus the other guy's ego, and you wrestle until one of you wins or one of you loses. And that's going to help you go out into the work and it being into life and be able to go into an interview and shake someone's hand without being nervous or give a speech without being nervous. I thought that was the end of it until I came to jiu-jitsu, and it completely changed my whole lifestyle in the sense of, I guess, viewing the world a different way. Now, here on the Savage Podcast, we are savages. There's no doubt about that.
Ain't no lie.
However, there is something humbling about being able to go round after round, showing up every day, giving it all, laying it out on the mat, learning something, and taking something home with you. Would you agree, Stephan, that jiu-jitsu is not only an art form, but it's also a lifestyle?
Oh, absolutely. There's huge, huge carryover from the grinding, really. And I don't mean grinding like, two people grinding on each other, which just sounds very wrong now that I think about it.
Sounds hot.
Yeah.
Let's the grinding day to day and going and, getting your ass kicked and then saying, I know how I'm going to defeat Jay's Kimura. I'm going to try this. And then going and making a little bit of progress, but you still Kimuraing me. And then going, I know how I still need to tweak it. And then going and do research and go and ask. And then I figure out a way to counter it. And then now it's you going, man, I'm going to counter that spinning armbar counter somehow. And just the persistence that it develops. Also, the sense of perspective. I mean, especially if you compete. And I don't think everybody needs to compete. I don't think everybody necessarily has to compete to get their black belt. But I think it's a very useful experience, especially if you're interested in self-defense, because if you can get up there and deal with the adrenaline and the nerves of doing it in front of your peers, your teachers, spectators,
Girlfriend.
girlfriend, sure, then all of a sudden going and giving a talk in front of people at the company to show them a PowerPoint of how, sales of Buicks are down this month or whatever the hell it is that you do, doesn't seem so intimidating. So many people think that they're, have the worst fear in life being public speaking. And I'm not an extrovert by nature. I'm an introvert. But compared to jiu-jitsu, a lot of things are easy. So compared to, I try to every once in a while do something hard. For the last year and a half, every 6 months, I've been doing a 50-kilometer, one-day ultramarathon route.
Whoa.
So in the middle of summer or in the middle of winter through the snow.
Whoa.
And that's just like jiu-jitsu. It's trying to do something hard once in a while to recalibrate your sense of what hard is.
Wow.
It's sort of like, I'm sure there are lots of people going to basic training in the army and come out going, I can't believe I used to think that 10 push-ups were impossible to do.
Right.
I can't believe that I used to think that I couldn't go a week without Netflix. I can't believe, or just all of a sudden, what hard is.
Yeah, it's amazing. And that goes off that whole relativity thing too. I mean, the harder
sure.
the harder things the bigger things that you can accomplish and overcome. All of a sudden, the things that you used to be fearful of, it's like, what was I thinking? Why was I so afraid? But it's also a huge, important step in growth and development that unfortunately I don't think as many people take as they should. And I swear, as big of a preachy prick as I sound, I try to throw jiu-jitsu at anyone that I see has any sense of low self-esteem or anything, because once they get past that initial, oh my God, I'm the newbie, and you start gaining, even if it's just a little bit, I mean, it improves your life quality tenfold, I believe. I think.
I agree.
I can't agree more. I think it's, I don't want to get too Oprah-ish. I don't want to get too Tony Robbins here.
You get a black belt. He gets a black belt. She gets a black belt.
If only. But, a bottom line is anything that you do that's hard is going to make you a better person, and jiu-jitsu is hard. If you were running a running podcast talking about running, we'd be having a very similar conversation. After doing a 20-miler in the Death Valley, it made everything else in life seem easy. And that's true. If we were doing a podcast about, I don't know. I think it has to be physical. I think you have to either sweat or bleed for this lesson to be learned. I don't know if, I tried to breed my own type of geraniums and it was so hard to get the pink petals with the blue petals. That would count. Yes, it's difficult. No, it's not really character development. Maybe develop patience. But I think it has to be physically difficult because also in life, if we were Neolithic hunters, life would have been difficult on a day-to-day basis. If we were alive at age 30, we would have all the ample evidence that we needed that, to say that we lived in our bodies and that we were self-sufficient and that we were, we'd probably have a pretty good ability to endure pain and discomfort. Not eating for a month when you miss the caribou migration would also help you learn that lesson.
Sure.
So in the modern world where, I can't, the last time I was hungry is because I was, I simply couldn't make it to the store for a couple of hours. I was tied up with something. That's not, in the grand scheme of things, suffering.
No.
So our life is pretty cushy. We don't have to go hunt our own ibex, and we don't have to go spear our own saber-toothed tigers. They've all been speared for us. We don't have to build our own house by hauling rocks across the field.
You just mentioned my favorite hooved animal, the ibex. Props to you, sir, for even knowing what an ibex is.
I just have to up ampersand you.
Yeah, you just you just went up 10 stripes in my book. You're now a Cora belt. No big deal. On this, since we're getting kind of deep here, we had our fans send in a couple questions, and
Sure.
one of the ones that came through that I definitely did not want to miss. This is from Brett here in Buffalo, New York. This is kind of long-winded, so bear with me, but it's a great question. Okay, this says, for Stephan, you seem like a pretty spiritually inclined guy. Do you find the study and application of jiu-jitsu to be a spiritual or religious experience or activity for yourself? Have you encountered any practitioners in particular who have changed the way you view the esoteric and metaphysical facets of BJJ, martial arts, human existence? Thanks for all of your hard work and being the best source of BJJ technical videos anywhere. Brett.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I think I'm probably going to end up disappointing Brett. So, Brett, I'm sorry.
You and his girlfriend, no big deal.
Ultimately, I'm a materialist, not in the sense that most people mean materialism in the accumulation of more and more stuff is the happiness to life. That's the secret to happiness in life. But materialism in the sense that there is the material world and that there isn't a whole lot more than that. Now, the esoteric applications of martial arts, if we're talking things like chi, if we're talking things like prana, if we're talking things like ki, the projection of energy, I have yet to see it. I have looked for it. I've been disappointed many, many, many times. Now, it's not to say that you can't use this as a metaphor for integrated body movement. When Mike Tyson punches somebody, and that punch could literally remove that person's head, that person's body, then you could argue, you could use the word chi as a metaphor. Mike Tyson is punching you with his left toe, his left big toe, his right big toe, and every part of his body between that toe and the end of his fist. So that integrated body movement, he's using his breath perfectly. And so I would say that that's, if you want, an application of chi, because there's not energy, and by that I mean kinetic energy, going the wrong way. It's not flapping around. It's all directed towards that punch. Same's true of a judo throw. An Olympic judo person throwing somebody, an Olympic judoka throwing somebody, it's really hard to pick somebody up and slam them into the ground, especially if they're resisting. This is not easy. To do it needs perfect timing and perfect body integration so that your entire body is working together to heave that person up to 5 feet above the ground and then flip them over and slam them down into the mat. So if we're talking about internal energy, that's my take on internal energy. I think there's just more efficient ways of moving. There's ways to use leverage. There's ways to use your posture so that there's ways to use your limbs that you're not using as much energy, or that you're using what energy you have in the most effective way possible. For example,
I got
it.
it.
That was my bad. Live radio.
That's not your wife, is it? We don't want to get you in trouble.
Which wife? Which ex-wife?
The Savage Podcast, everybody. I would have to agree with you on all points there. I think that was really, really well said.
That was well said.
If we're talking about spiritual development, yes, I think we just talked about it. I think by doing hard things, that is a spiritual development exercise. In the same way that doing a pilgrimage, doing the Camino de Santiago, doing a pilgrimage to Jerusalem in the Middle Ages, which was a long and difficult process, and you're probably going to sweat and maybe bleed in the process.
Sure.
That's also a spiritual development exercise. I saw this amazing movie of set in the Himalayas, and there's some sort of pilgrimage where you basically stand, you lie down on the ground, you stand back up and you bow. You take a step forward. And I think I'm getting the sequence wrong, but basically for each step you take forward, you're essentially doing a slow motion burpee, and you're traversing the sacred route of, I want to say, 50 miles around a mountain.
Wow.
That's spiritual development. Or you're sitting in a Zen monastery, you're kneeling, or you're a monk and you're spending hours immobile praying. These are not easy things,
No.
right? They're difficult things. So in that sense, yes, jiu-jitsu has a spiritual aspect, but it's in the doing. It's not in the waxing philosophical about it. I mean, yes, you can. I can talk. If you come at me and I get the timing exactly right for once and I sweep you over in a butterfly guard sweep and I end up on top and I didn't use much energy, we could get spiritual there. We're blending energy in sort of a Aikido type sense.
Sure.
But, let's not get too carried away with it. I used your momentum, which is a term from physics.
Yeah.
The levers I had available to me. I swept you at I put my instep hook at your knee rather than higher up your thigh. So I had a longer lever. And then I got out of the way so you didn't slam into me. And I used the stronger parts of my body to help you over. And that's physics.
And I
we can't talk about
rotated your body around my fulcrum, and you ended up on the ground.
Yeah. So I'm sorry that might not be the answer that Brett wanted, but that's
the one he's getting.
Yeah, that's the one he's getting, regardless of what he wants.
And I think you're right. I study a lot on things like this, and one of my practices is meditation. And like you and Joe were just talking about, it's so difficult to even just sit down and clear your mind for an amount of time. Just that task alone is difficult. Now, clear your mind and make a habit of something so simple and do it over and over and over again. It's difficult. Now, take that to jiu-jitsu, and like you said, the momentum and the timing, everything has to be right in order for something to go right. And there's an infinite amount of outcomes, and what you just said better have answered Brett's question.
Yeah, or else he's leaving the academy.
But it made absolute sense. It was
and it's a bit subjective, isn't it? I mean, whether you want to call it spiritual or whatever definition you want to give it, bettering yourself is bettering yourself. And if you want to feel that on a religious level, on a spiritual level, or if you're just one of those people that just believes in optimizing the human form, then it is what it is to you in the end.
Well, I believe that there are changes in states of consciousness you can achieve through meditation. I don't meditate per se, but the closest I've come to meditation, in my youth, I did a number of really long solo canoe trips. So you're taking thousands and thousands of paddle strokes a day, right? Because you're the only thing moving for the 1,800-mile journey that you're on is your paddle strokes.
Sure.
And so you're doing that iteratively and repetitively. And I did enter into meditative states. And the analogy, there's those brush paintings of Zen monks achieving enlightenment through cutting bamboo. Not, some monks would achieve enlightenment, I guess, by sitting there and doing zazen, and others would by raking the gravel, by doing the warrior monk, the marathon monk routes, by cutting bamboo, whatever it is. So you can achieve meditative states in different ways by focusing on your breathing, which sounds like what you're doing,
yep. Or
by taking, 5,000 paddle strokes a day, every day, day after day.
Or venturing into Peru and doing some ayahuasca, whatever way you want to do it.
Not having been to Peru and not having done ayahuasca, I'll take people's words for it, but it sounds like it's the route for there are definitely altered states of consciousness. There are different routes to those altered states of consciousness.
Sure.
A runner's high would be another example.
Yep.
So I certainly feel different at the end of a jiu-jitsu session than I did before. Either I feel in pain and crippled and like, oh, I really overdid it this time, or you've got some kind of high going where you're like, oh, that feels, you've got the endorphin rush.
Now, when someone achieves the level of ranking that you have achieved in jiu-jitsu, there has to be something to be said about when you're in the middle of grappling with someone, or even before going into it with someone, if do you ever just let your mind go and let your body and your body mechanics and the muscle memory take over to the point where you're like, okay, this guy is he's a blue belt, you know, he's swimming in the blue sea, and you just kind of flow, and you're not really thinking too much. You're just letting your body do what it does and what it has trained all these years. Would that be a meditative state?
It's certainly an altered state of consciousness.
Yeah.
Most of the time when I'm sparring, I'll say 80% of the time, I haven't documented it or quantified it. I have a plan, right? I'm really busy. So when I train, I like to have a plan. Today's plan, I trained this morning, was to see if I could, from the bottom, nail De La Hiva guard, which is a guard that I've played with, I've used it, but I haven't really focused on it. That was my goal. I've done some thinking about what I was going to do and how I was going to start using it more in my game. I think I want to go down that little rabbit hole for a while and see where it goes. So my goal was to get De La Hiva guard, maintain De La Hiva guard, which is way harder than getting it, and then use 2 or 3 different attacks. So today's training was really focused.
Right.
But certainly there's that 20-30% of the time where it's like, let's just see what happens. Now, if it's somebody who's a serious threat, yes, 100% of the time, like you're focused, and you might be thinking about higher level stuff, but you're still focused. You might be thinking about, okay, need to create some space here. You're not thinking, grab here with 4 fingers in, and then push this up at this angle. You're thinking, make space. So you're definitely thinking, but especially against somebody that you're not as threatened by, it's actually a really fun exercise, and it makes it more fun for them too, because you're not just crushing them. You're going to give them a good position, and you're going to roll cooperatively. Oleg Taktarov, the UFC fighter.
Oh, big old Oleg.
Yeah. He used to start his seminars out by, okay, just roll super easy, like little babies. Let the other person pass your guard. I can't do a Russian accent to save my life, so I'm not. Let the other person mount you, then you roll them just like little babies. It's actually a really good warm-up exercise because it's zero ego, and it's fun, and it sort of stretches your jiu-jitsu muscles using easier levels of jiu-jitsu. And then, of course, there's the one guy's like, well, you see, I passed your guard here. You should have been blocking my knee. Oh, let me mount you. It's like, buddy, did you not listen to the instructions? At that point, I remember Oleg saying, okay, now everybody go hard. It's like, oh, yes.
Game time.
And no, yeah. So that's certainly it's again an altered state of consciousness. You're kind of turning your brain off and just seeing what kind of muscle memory you have learned. But most of the time when I'm training, and this is something I've probably done in the last 5 years, I have a plan of what I want to work in that day.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
That's great. You're listening to the Savage Podcast with Sav Joe and Sav J. Right now, we are on the line with Stephan Kesting. Stephan, we have 5 questions that we ask all of our guests right in a row. Fire them out, just to let people know that who we're talking to is not necessarily just a robot, that they're human too. These are just basic questions. If you'll play along with us.
Okay, I'm scared, but
nope. Nope. They're real simple. You'll check it out.
Yeah, they're not nearly as scary as like a bow and arrow choke or anything. Okay, so number 1, what's your favorite color?
Really?
Yep.
I'll go forest green. How's that? It's a very restful color.
Yeah, it is. What's your favorite band or musician?
I'll have to go with fellow Canadian and now posthumous fellow Canadian Leonard Cohen.
The great Hallelujah. I love that guy.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Fantastic. I lived for a while in Montreal, and so there's this indelible association between him and Montreal.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the great artists, possibly the greatest songwriter of our time, and probably forever.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
What's your favorite instrument to hear a solo on?
Favorite instrument to hear a solo on? How about? I was about to say the didgeridoo, but that'd just be a silly answer. So I'll go with somebody really shredding the electric guitar with an amazing blues riff. How's that?
Oh, I got that all day for you, baby. I got that all day. All right, you're going out. You got to put a shirt on. Stripes or plaid?
Oh boy, I'll go stripes. I'll go stripes. I don't think I have any plaid in the closet right now, so
No plaid in the closet. And the last one's a bit morbid.
no skinny jeans either,
No
and
skinny.
no hipster glasses, and inappropriate facial hair.
Would you rather be burned alive or drown?
Whoa. Well, I'll go pragmatic on this one. Although being burned alive would put me in excellent company of martyrs throughout the ages.
Joan
There's
of
just
Arc?
too much variability there. I mean, they used to cook some people really slowly,
Yeah.
and they used to. I've listened to enough Dan Carlin to know how terrible that experience could be. So I'll go with drowned. It would be a few minutes of terror, and then you'd be done.
I think the consensus usually is drown. I don't think most people like feeling their eyes melt or their skin fall off. So yeah. So there you go, people. Stephan
Well, if you
Kesting.
want to get morbid, it wasn't the eyes melting that was the problem. If it was hot enough to burn the eyes out, then you would have been overcome by the gases a long time ago, and you'd be unconscious. It was the slow roast that you had to watch out for
The
when they just had a
old-
little. Yeah, that's there's a whole lot of nerve endings in the lower body that can be tickled for a long time.
Oh, and it just got more morbid. Hello. Again, you're listening to the Savage Podcast.
Yeah. All right, people, check out grapplearts.com if you want to check out all of Stephan Kesting's amazing content, especially for that defense. Women, you have to check them out. Men, check them out. It's great content. Also, sign up for his email list. It is incredible. It's great content. He hits you with stuff all the time with stuff that you wouldn't even imagine. The stuff is so no, I'm not gonna say it on air because I want to hit Joe with it.
Oh, damn it. Get that
Lots
app.
of techniques, lots of tips, lots of training methods.
Yes,
Get-
get that app.
Get the roadmap to BJJ. Even if you're not a BJJ practitioner, just get it.
Yeah, it's
Just get it.
amazing. We have one last question for you, Stephan.
I'm ready.
Okay, so for those of you who, for the millions of followers and viewers that we have of the Savage Podcast, everyone knows that Joe and I, this spring, will be hunting Bigfoot.
This is legit.
We're going to be hunting Bigfoot, and the question to you, Stephan, is when we find this animal, this being, can you throw out a move sequence or something that you think that would be effective in such a big animal?
It would preferably be a gi move because I'm pretty sure
That's good.
his hairy frame would support a lot of grips.
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be certainly one option. I mean, a spider guard type of approach might keep you safe,
Okay.
but ultimately, I think you'd have to go for the dim mak type move, like the 5-point palm exploding heart technique.
The old death touch.
Yeah, that should be,
Oh.
in theory, applicable across different species. And Bigfoot presumably is humanoid, right? Presumably is primate.
Yep.
Would that be the scientific consensus on the topic?
Yes, he is definitely definitely a humanoid being.
So then, 5-point palm exploding heart technique for sure. But then you also got to run, right? You got to make him take those 5 steps.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Now with him being Bigfoot, I know we talked about the bigger
Or
strong.
a heel hook. Or a heel hook, of course.
I never thought about the old heel
He's
hook.
big.
Apes notoriously don't have the strongest legs. When we're talking apes, they are pretty much an upper body being. But here's the thing. We talked about the bigger, stronger opponent and how to neutralize them. Would you say possibly that a gorilla-sized animal and possibly larger might be a little beyond the technique, being able to submit with technique? Are they a little too strong, or what do you think?
I don't know. I think it's time to start studying that Aikido stuff because you see, I mean, look at how far some of those Aikido masters can throw compliant, resisting students with flicks of their hand.
Oh,
So
I love you.
if we say Bigfoot's twice as heavy as one of their students,
Yeah.
you might only be able to throw him half as far, but that's still pretty far.
Okay.
That's still pretty far. So
That's what
Aikido
Steven
and dip
Seagal.
class.
Yeah, so we're calling Steven Seagal.
Steven
Is that
Seagal.
our next phone call?
I feel sorry for you.
Oh goodness,
Yeah.
Stephan, thank you so much for being such a wonderful guest. We'll hook up in a little bit via email, or I'll send you a message or give you a call. What we want to do is send you a T-shirt for being on our show today, if that's all right. And then we would also love having you on as a guest sometime in the future.
I'm down for both. Thank you so much. I had a lot of fun.
And don't forget to tune in. We've got Miles Jury, UFC fighter, coming up next week. So definitely check that episode out. We'll be mentioning you for sure in that episode.
Fucking headache. Somebody call the medic. This judge should have never let them go. Because this record shows two savages that'll leave you bruised and bandages from head to toe. Okay. Yo, I gotta finish lighting this, dude. Where I'm going right now.
All right, yeah, give me a call.
All right, peace.
All right.
You are listening to the Savage Podcast.
They're like a rush and a fucking headache. They're off their meds and the judge should've never let them go. It's sex and mind control, cause this record shows two savages that'll leave you bruised and bandages from head to toe. Get ready for combat, cause they're on a mission, like a junkie seeking a public assistance card. Cause the competition blows harder than Sav J when he has to start his car. They're on fire, huffing their own fumes. These motherfuckers have seen more shit than Sav Joe, sitting on the can, having diarrhea after a handful of mushrooms. Fired the last intern that tried to get ahead. Guess it sucks to be you. Kids, forget what your parents said. Play with knives, get to the point, we'll cut your wrist too. The Savage Podcast, cutting out coke. Oh me, oh my, is this what it means to OD online?
You are listening to the Savage Podcast. Visit www.thesavagepodcast.net.